Okay, welcome back to Visual FoxPro. Sorry, LearnVisualFoxPro.com. I've decided to go ahead and create the other video right away, and so we'll just pick up where we left off. So we did some extensive work on the customer list form, and now we need to create the customer information form to go along with it. And for that example, I will not be going extensively into oh, I need to change the name of this. This is customer cost list. Let's rename. Right mouse click, rename to. In fact, I could have used the wizard here, but I've never been a fan of it. So let's do it. Let's do it our way. We'll go data environment, and we'll select customers. Close that. I want to set the data session on the form to a private one, and so let's private. Yeah. And what else do we want to do? So what we're going to do is to select the fields from the table. And again, in the interest of time, I'm going to do this in the quickest way possible. In terms of, I will not be implementing a whole lot of features such as form navigation, where once the form is open, you can go next and previous to look at the data. For this example, we'll just make it, you can open, you can add a new record, exit, you can edit the record, exit. So it's going to be a bit clunky, but I'll leave the rest for you as an exercise to add in those functionalities that you saw with the form wizard, where we had next, previous, and so forth. Okay, so we want all of these. I'll shift click, and I'll right mouse click on the list and drag that to the form. So I should get a pop-up menu here, and I say create multiple controls here. I could create the grid, but you've seen that already. Just dragging the form gives you the grid, and I'll create multiple controls here, so that would save some time. And okay, oops. So what we want to do is to just put some cosmetics on this, and we'll say send to back, and that should be good. We need a few buttons here. So this will be the form. I will not be doing too much here, so I'll make that like that. And what do you need now? We need some buttons. Click, and we need multiple buttons, so I'll lock that. So this will be OK and cancel. Yeah, actually, that's all we need. Okay, so actually, I've never done this before. I've never docked to the left. Let's go back over here. Come on. Okay. And so this architecture is quite simplistic, so I don't need to check for editing mode. We will always enter the form in edit mode. The fields here will be open. You can type and make changes at will. Clicking OK will save the changes and close the form. Clicking cancel, of course, will ignore any changes made, as we will be buffering the data. So let's do that. Let's turn buffering mode on, and we'll make it optimistic. Okay. What else do we need to do? So we can put some code here. Again, my style of coding of late is to not necessarily put a lot of code in here, a lot of logic in here, but actually have this code call another method on the form. But for tonight, we're going to cheat a bit in the interest of time. Concept is what we're looking at here. So to save, we simply say if table of date, and again we will be using not table buffering, sorry, not row buffering, but table buffering, and we'll say the current record, the current row, which is 0, and we won't need to specify the alias because we only have the one alias open. But anyway, let's do it just for completeness. Customers, and so if that is so, then in fact we want to display a message if there was a problem. So message logs error. And we'll just go 48. And we will return and not do anything. Otherwise, if everything went well, we want to close the form. Close form if we get here. Okay. Likewise in our cancel, we go table, revert, false, customer. Well, in fact, if you remember from the other video, I don't want to do this here. I just simply want to release form here. So we'll say release this form. This is just another way of closing the form, just in case you see this in code. So we'll close that. What we want to do is, in case the user closes the form by using the little X up here, we want to take that into account as well. So we want to put this in the query on load method. So of the form, and this method is called just before the form exits. So it says just before it unloads. So we'll put it here, and that should take care of that. And in the form load, we want to set the buffering mode. In fact, we can do this from the data environment, which is not something I do a lot. So we're going to do it from here. So we'll change this to optimistic table buffering. So we override. Okay, so that should take care of that. So no code. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we set that there, and we'll close that. And what we want to do also in the load event, again, because it's a private data session, we want to set talk off so we don't have anything spilling onto our form. And we want to set deleted on. We need to set up the environment on every form that we create. Set deleted on, set exclusive off for shared access, and yeah, we need to set multi-locks on. Required for table buffering. Okay. Okay. What are we missing? What are we missing? What are we missing? Let's give a caption to the form. And let's change the icon from the little fox there to something more appropriate. So let's navigate up to okay, and we'll use oh man, just pick an icon. Okay, customer information. So we'll use. I wanted to use a cabinet. I don't see it here. Let's keep searching for a little bit. So office. Let's see what we have. Perfect. We could probably use one of these guys. Yeah, I'm kind of picky. All right, let's go with this one, and we'll close this out. So this form is all done. That is perfect. Actually, it's not all done. We need to know what mode the form was called in. Are we adding a new record, or are we editing a record? And therefore, we need to check for that. Sorry, that's editing an existing record. Get tongue-tied sometimes. So in the init, which is the first function, well, not first, but this is the only place we can accept arguments to the form is in the init method, or the method init event method. Okay, we got lightning there, so this is a method that's called when the init event fires. Okay, so L parameter, and what we can take is the I'll just simply take the record number. No. Okay, and I'll say if it's empty, meaning 0, or they just didn't pass an argument, then we're in new mode. So add a record, append blank. Otherwise, we don't need to do anything. Oh, yeah, we do. Otherwise, we go to the record specified. Go to TN, like number, and if, and that should be all that we need. Okay. We will make it so that you can, you don't need to resize this form. So we're going to prevent the users from resizing this form. And we'll go to layout, border style, somewhere up here. And we'll change that to fixed dialog. Okay. And we don't want, you're going to disable the maximize button. Max button, false. Okay. Close that. We save it as. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. Okay, so from the form list, we want to call the cust info form for new records or for existing records. So let's do that. Okay, so we place that in the methods that we created on the customer list form. So when it's a new form, we want to call that form there. So we'll say do form cust info name, and so I want to create a reference to the form. I don't want to I don't want the form to be displayed immediately. I want to take control of when the form is displayed. So I'll say cust info, and I'll say linked, and with linked is related again to the name, and I did explain this in part 2, I believe, so you can check that video out. And so we want to pass in the record number of the current record. Okay, so let's do this. So by adding, I may have explained this before, by putting a type here, we're making making the variable a bit more strongly typed than normal, and so I can get some IntelliSense for properties when I do that. Yeah, I did mention that in the other video. So show, and I'll put 1 here for modal. So show modally. Note that I could simply have just done, could have taken out all of this stuff here and just simply call the form that way, and it would work just the same, almost. I would have to set some other properties on the form, but I kind of like having the control over when the form is displayed. So this creates the form and stores a reference in the variable. Oh, in fact, I need to say no show. So let's put the no show there. Okay, so that's important. Okay, and I'll show it using, of course, the show method from the reference that I have. And this is close to when we get into doing more object-oriented programming, you'll see this form a lot, and so I kind of want you to get used to it. Okay, so that's fine. We'll use the same. In fact, this is wrong slightly. I'll copy this. It's the same routine we'll use for editing. In fact, I could have put both of these in the same routine and simply pass an argument to the method, so I would know whether I'm editing or I'm adding a new record. So, but anyway, I will leave it at that. So I'll pass this -1. -1 means okay, we pass 0. 0 is empty. 0 will mean we want to add a new record. So we'll close that and we'll go to edit. We'll replace this with this, and so that's fine. And delete, of course. Let's copy some code, shall we? Go to staff list, modify, and we're right there. So we can take all of this, copy it, and it should work with minimal changes. So we'll close that, and I may want to borrow some more code, so I'll leave it open for now. And let's go back to delete cust, and we replace that. Do you want to delete customer? Okay, let's see. Are you sure you want to delete customer, and we'll show the customer name. We'll show the company name. So we'll say customers, company. Of course, depending on the type of system you're designing, if you have transaction records for a customer, you may want to inhibit deletion. But we won't be getting into that in this video. Okay, so we have pretty much everything that we need. Let's see how she runs. Okay, another thing I want to do is that when the form runs, I want it to be maximized. Because right now, if I run it, it's in the same design state. So I want it to auto maximize on initialization. So let's fix that. So here we'll say this dot show. Actually, it's Windows state equal to 2. Maximize form. Okay. And what we're going to do next is to wire this up to the main menu and modify, edit, and we'll say do form. I'm going to come back perhaps later on and use a form manager so that we can control how often a form is instantiated. Using a simple do form, the form can be executed multiple times, but that's okay for now. So it's do form cust list, and so that's okay. Okay. And then we go menu, generate, save. Okay. So let's see how she fares. Do expect some bugs here. I never get this right the first time. Okay, rarely do. Let's go customers. And so we have this, and this is one of the things I've been finding. Okay, I don't get a perfect refresh when using custom controls in VFP 9 actually. I think I had this in 8 or 6. Okay, so I'll minimize this. Actually, what happens is because I start the form with the Windows state being maximized, for some reason it doesn't refresh properly. So I may have to call the refresh manually up in the Init. Anyway, so we're going to create a new customer. We go new, and that works nicely. So okay, our phone fields are a little small, so we'll probably have to do something there. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely have to do something there. So it's accepting only 10, and that's fine. So that is the size we specified. 6, 9. Okay, we don't have a second phone. We click OK, and we get an error. function argument value type or count is invalid. Let's suspend and see what the debugger has to say. And it says table update. Okay, 0. Okay, that's fine. We'll cancel and we'll close the debugger. We'll close here and close this. Okay, and set system menu to default to get our original menu back. Right, and we'll open up this, and I'll go to. I had these issues with the staff list as well, so let's go staff info, and let's check out the code there. Okay, so I missed something. Okay, so I'm missing a parameter of .f. In fact, I want all of this because I like the error message handling that this form has. So I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to drop it into our cust info form. And one of the things that you'll see when we do object inheritance is that we can code the a generic save routine once and have it inherited among all the forms that have the same commonality or functionality that we wish to implement. Okay, so we'll take this out. Change that to customers. So let's see what that middle parameter is. I forgot what it was. Table update bracket. So okay, right. So I needed to tell it whether or not it was to force the update, and I said don't force it. If you're not able to save, don't force it through. If I set it to true, it would simply just overwrite. If somebody made a change, too bad. I want my changes to be saved, and so we don't want that behavior in the form. Okay, and okay, so that's good. In fact, I like the other one. So what we can say is if not, and just another way of writing that. So let's try it again. The cust list form, I do want it to have a private data session as well. So where's the properties window? Come on. Property. Interesting. There's no way to get to the properties window except to right mouse click on the things you take for granted. Okay, properties, and we'll go to forms and data session private. Okay, close. Actually, I do want to change just quickly the icon on this form, and
Okay. So our form list here, one of the things I don't like about it either is that it's operating as a contained form, and it's not blending in fully with the, it's not acting like a MIDI form.
and blending with the bar blending up here. So there's a way to change that, and I'm going to change that shortly. So let's try to create a customer again. And we forgot about the phone numbers, so I'll just leave one and click OK. And we have one customer in our list. Okay, so that looks pretty nice, and we can of course. Okay, so let's see if we can edit this customer. Yes, we can. What we want to do, let's change that. I want the customer info to be automatically centered, and I'm going to show you how I can do that from the customer list form. Two ways. I could go here, modify, and select the property auto center and set it to true. But I'll show you some of the flexibility we have when we call the form the way that we do in the screen. And what I'm going to do actually is to alright, I won't. Let's do this. I have to duplicate code a little bit, which I hate to do, but it's okay. In the new, given that I have a link to the form, before I show the form, I have full access to all the properties. So right from here, I can say, if I desire to show the form centered, I can say auto center equal true, and then that will take care of centering the form for me. So I could have done it within the form itself, or I can do it from here. Okay. Now on this form, I want to change another property called the, looking for M, all properties, and okay, where is it? M meaty. Okay, maybe I got my it's here somewhere. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so it's not under M. Oh, I'm looking in the grid. Thanks for pointing that out, whoever you are. And let's try that again. Okay, so we've got M's, and we have middle click. And here we go, meaty form. Okay, specify the form is meaty, that is multiple document interface compliant, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we'll just set it to true, and the form will behave kind of the way I like it. So let's see. Okay, so we say yes, and we'll run the form again, customers. And so now, when it maximizes, notice that it blends in very nicely with the interface. I don't have the toolbar, the caption bar, title bar, being displayed below the menus. In fact, it blends in nicely, and I have the control here. So if I do this, then I have my caption bar, and I can drag the window around. But when I maximize this, oh, it blends in very nicely, and in fact does look like a proper list control. So we'll maximize this. Okay. In fact, we can actually let the grid automatically resize every time the form open up. But let's add one more customer. Oh, we forgot to format the phone in a zip. So let's look at adding some mask to zip and phone. So zip will accept 5-4, and phone will be formatted with brackets, space, and dashes. So let's look at that. So we'll say view, and here we have another record. Okay, double click. Oh, we don't have double click. That's unforgivable. Okay, so we need to make a change with that. So we need to double click, and of course we need to test out this search feature. Okay, so let's quickly. What did I say now? Okay, so we want to do a few things here, and I'm drawing blank as to what exactly they all are. One thing we want to do, that when a form starts up, we want to have the grid auto-resize the columns for us, the grid, and we can say, what do we say? Auto something. Okay, here we go. Allow auto column fit. Isn't that true already? Equal. Okay. Allow auto resize of all or none, or all and individual columns. The default allowed auto individual columns only. Do not allow the auto resize. All right. So let's go down here, see what that property has to say. Allow. Okay, so it's 0. But what I want to do, I think there is a function or a method that I can call that will simulate me double clicking in the left panel, sort of like Excel, and having it resize. I won't spend too much time if I can't find it right now. Okay. I'm not finding it. Okay, so 0 allows the specified behavior when double clicking the grid row intersection. Allow auto resize of all. Okay, so let's try this. So let's set it to 3, which is none, and then reset it back to 1. Okay. What else do we want to do? We need to implement double click in the grid. So on in the double click event method, D is for double. We want to call the edit option by default. So it's this form edit cust. Yeah, that's all we have to do, and we've implemented double click. Some other cleaning up that we need to do is in the refresh, where if we don't have any records, for example, I could do here if tally equals 0, then I want to disable. I need to disable. What do I need to disable? Okay, here's what we can do. I'll create a new property called underscore list items, and I'll actually store that value. Yes. Okay, I'm not getting any IntelliSense on this. Why is that? Okay, this dot and list. Okay, IntelliSense decides to be mean today. List items equal tally, and what I want to do in the grid here is double click is fine, but the rightmost click, when we have these bars, we can actually put conditions on them so that they are not enabled depending on the number of records we have in the table. So I'll say skip for screen. We've got to do the screen thing again. Screen active form dot underscore n and list items equal, or it said less than 1. Okay, so I will put this in all these guys. Okay, what about refresh? I guess if you want to refresh an empty list, that's fine too. Now we'll skip it. Okay, so what happened is that this variable that we have in the form gets refreshed every time we call the refresh. And so when we right mouse click, this gets evaluated. This value gets evaluated. If it's less than 1, then Visual FoxPro will automatically disable the edit. Right? But we can always do new. All right, so I'm forgetting something, and I'm not sure what it is. Okay, for this guy we want let's see. Still can't remember what it is I'm forgetting, but let's work at what I do remember. For this guy, we're going to set default field combo to first item in list. So say this dot cbo list index equal to 1. Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll try that again. And we get an error here. Let's see what that is. And equal to 0, this grid allow. Expression evaluated to an illegal value. Okay, ignore. And run again. Okay, so I'm not getting the behavior. What I want, because if I double click here, all the, oh, it's not happening. What should happen is that all these columns should automatically expand. Okay. Maybe I'm not seeing. Okay. Okay, that's not happening. Strange. Why was I seeing the command window when my application is running? Oh, because of this error. Oh, I see. Okay, let's fix that. Okay, I'll look that up and we'll tackle it in the next lesson. Won't waste time on it here. So let's get this code to behave, and we'll proceed. So we'll take all of this out. Actually, just thought of something. Can I undo? No. You can say this grid auto. There it is. Auto fit. Thank you. That is a function. All right. Okay. So now we're done. Auto fit. That's the one. Okay. So we're back here, and auto fit. If you noticed, all of them to the maximum ink. I can see everything, James, and all the others. Of course, they resize. And now I remember what we failed to do. We were to look at masking. This we have up here, company name. Let me just type Denver here and see if that works. Find. And, uh-oh. So that's not working. Okay, clear. Okay, clear works. All right, so we'll fix that as well. But we're talking about masking right now, so let's go and look at masking, input masking, and we'll go back to class info, modify. And so we have zip. We can make this field a little bigger, and these two a lot bigger. In fact, I do want to set these codes to the standard Microsoft font size. So what I'll do is with this, alright, never mind. Just this set all, and I want the font name to be MS Sans Serif. This set all. And anything with a font size property, if you have a font size property, change it to 8. So that's all this is saying. Okay, and okay, so that's good. So for the zip, we want when the user is entering information for it to appear a certain way. And so we have two fields that we can use to help us with that. The input mask field specifies how data is entered and displayed in the control, and of course the format specifies input and output formatting of the control values. So for zip, it's numeric 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of course there's a dash in between, and then zip if you have 4. Okay, so we actually let's look at the data structure, because I'm not sure what the length of the field is, which is, so I'll double click on that to modify the table. So zip is 9, so it can store exactly, so the dash, we cannot store the dash, okay, but I want the dash to be displayed in the input mask, which is fine. So what we can do is use the R formatter, which basically allows us to do stuff like what I want to accomplish. I've always had difficulty explaining this. Now what it will do, it will interleave non-editing characters within the input at entry time, but it will not actually store these non-formatting characters. So the hyphen here will not get stored in the data because I'm using R. Okay, format R, meaning just interleave these non-formatting characters in the data, but don't actually store it. Okay, for a better explanation, do click on the help, like F1, and check out all the formatting option. Visual FoxPro gives you a better. Okay, here it says displays the format mask for the text box that is specified in the input property. The mask formats data for easier entry and clearer display. Okay, for example, if the mask is 999-999, the number 1234 is displayed according to the mask, but is not stored as part of the data, which is essentially what I said, but much more concise and clearer, I hope. Okay, so that's the zip, and then for the phone number, we want to do the same thing. So we want the R again, because I don't want the extraneous characters to be saved. Only the numerical value of the phone number. So I want 999 in bracket, I want space, and then I want 999 dash, and then 9999. So that's the formatting I need for. So that's all the numbers together. So 123, 123, and then 4. That's 10. So that's fine. And I did put a max length here of 10. So maybe that's why I had problems with it. Let's take that out, because now that we have the mask, you can only enter what the mask allows. So I'm going to copy this, save some time, put it down here, and enter key R. I mean, it doesn't have to be uppercase, but I like to use uppercase with these things. Okay, and also too, if we wanted to, I'll force and make the state, whatever you key in there, to always be uppercase, and I'll do that with the exclamation mark. So that says force entry to be uppercase, and I could force entry to be lowercase as well, in the case if we had an email address, which I didn't include in this one, but that's okay. All right, so let's check these masks out. Okay, so we double click, and here we see the formatting. So again, these extra characters will not be stored in the data. So for zip, I could say 11101, and then notice it jumps over, and my 40125, and then it beeps and jumps to the next character. Very beautiful. The new version of Visual Studio, the 2005 edition, does have this new functionality, and I kind of smile in that it does work to an extent. However, when you get to the end of the mask, it doesn't automatically jump to the next field as FoxPro does here. So, but they've made great strides. I must admit. Okay, moving along. So 401 phone number, and as I type, all I do is type the numbers, and they will be in their proper place. And if I just keep typing numbers, they're automatically formatted to look as I need it. So what we're going to do is save this, and of course you can see here. Let me double click here now. How the data is stored is not actually stored with any of those special characters that we saw in the mask. Likewise for the zip, it's just one contiguous string, but when I view it, it looks a whole lot different. So what we can do is put mask here also on the grid to show the data in like fashion. So let's create one more record here, and never spell this guy's name. Okay. Notice now for state, you can tell that caps lock is on here. I'm going to turn caps lock off to demonstrate that. So because I've included the formatting of always for this box to be uppercase automatically, whether caps is on or off, any entry made in the state field will be uppercase. So IL, it's all uppercase. So that demonstrated that. Okay, I'll turn caps back on, and again I type my numbers, and I click OK. We never did try the cancellation. So if I mistakenly, whoops, what did I do there? Typing, and I want to cancel. Perfect. None of the changes were committed when I cancel. Okay, and we can double click here. Have that. So let's look one last thing. Let's look at formatting the columns within the grid. And and then wrap up this. Actually, yeah, we need to fix the search. So let's do the formatting, look at the search, and then we'll wrap up this video. Okay. Okay, so I click on the grid and I simply jump down to the two last columns. I could name them if I wanted to. I could name this one. I see that it's bind to phone number. I could go here and change the name of the column to phone number. Please feel free to do that. In fact, it will help you a lot. Okay, for today I will not be doing that. So what we want to do is to format. We go to data, and of course you have here the same properties, input mask and the formatting. And for this one, we'll just phone number. So we'll enter that, and of course we put R. So it will be displayed properly. Without the R, a few of the numbers would be eaten away in the display, not in the storage, because this list is not storing anything. It's just simply displaying. Okay, so that's go to the next column. Same thing. Okay, and one more, the zip. Okay, so it's R and 12345 dash 1234. Okay, and so when we search now, we notice that we didn't get any results. So we're going to put some breaks and do some debugging again. Let's go back up to form method, and we want to see what happened when set filter is called. Oh, I know. I did a uppercase all trim check on the actual field name. I need to do the same over here. So, okay, so we save some time, and I'll just say upper, whatever you key in, I'm going to just convert it to uppercase, and I'll also trim off any space you may have there. And of course, I'm doing an inexact matching. So, in fact, we want to set that up in the load. I'm going to turn exact off, so we get. Hey, I didn't do any setup here, so we need to set talk off. I need to set deleted on. I need to set refresh to. Okay, I'll leave that to the default. I'm just going to set exact off, set near on. Okay. So that will allow us to enter like partial values for our searches, and we should be good. It should give us some results. So here goes everything. Okay. Okay, good. So right now, if I enter Davy, I should only get Davy Crockett in the list. And as expected, so that's perfect. Okay. One of the things we may want to do is to disable the find button when you have a filter on, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so to show the inexact match, let's clear this, and so we have two companies beginning with D. I'll just put D in here, and that should just list those two companies, Denver and Davy. So that's pretty cool. And we'll clear that. What else we can search on? So this company name works. We could go to city, and say city, and I want Holly. It doesn't matter if I type it in uppercase or lowercase. It will be converted to uppercase anyway. So if I typed it like that, doesn't matter. And I find Hollywood, and we can clear that. And I guess the others should work. Now let's look at Nope. Okay, so that's the gist of it. This is I like this. I like this interface. I believe this font for these guys should be a little smaller, so it looks a little better. But you get the gist of working with the. I like the list view look of the fields. Sorry, of the grid, and that new feature in version 9, not to allow cell selection, just make that look so very nice. And oh, I forgot to show you that down here we have our record counts. So we have 3. Let's delete James Bond here. So let's see, delete. Are you sure you want to delete customer Denver Company Consultant Inc? And we'll say yes. And immediately I'm down to 2. And oh, we didn't test out the disable feature. So let's see. If I keep deleting, these are not. They're only marked for deletion. They're not physically removed from the table. So I'll just recall them in the end, and we'll delete the last one. And so now we have 0 records, and look at that. So right away, edit and delete and refresh or disabled. Again, because of the code that we wrote, skip 4. Because every time we delete, we do a refresh, which does a count, which updates the property that keeps a tally of the number of records. And then every time we right mouse click and we call this function, we say go, check that variable. If it's 0, then disable these, otherwise enable them. And so if we add a new company, then these menu options should come back. Okay, so something, okay. So I added a new, and I did not call the refresh function. Thus, my record count here is not being updated. If I double click, I think the edit feature calls it, so I should get, nope, nobody called it. Okay, so we got to fix that before we go. Alright, but let's just go back here, which does a count, and when I right mouse click, that happens. I'm going to turn off that auto fit because it's messing with my grid, and we'll just wrap this up in a second. Okay, so we've seen how that works, so we don't want to use it all the time. And then also these guys down here, new customer. Okay, so what I need to do is to always refresh, because refresh is where the logic is to update the status bar control, and will also cause the mouse click to work properly. So let's copy and paste. And of course, we already have it in delrec, and we have it also in set filter. Okay, so we'll close these guys, and close, 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 close. I'm going to recall those records just to demonstrate this again, and browse, set deleted off, recall all, and close all, do main, close you, and here we go. Okay, so let's leave this, should be a little bit more spaced out. So if we were to go through that again, let's, well, keep deleting, yes, 3, 2, and notice we have all the options. We can refresh, and then we delete the last one, and nothing. We go new, okay, and so we have 1, and if we right mouse click, we can see that we can do all this stuff. So the logic is there, and that wraps it up for this session. Okay.